Yeah, they got Mason Rudolph again, and all of a sudden they're
Mason
slinging the
Rudolph is
rock like it's
turned into
nothing.
prime Peyton Manning, and now they're good
Yeah,
again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hello and welcome back to not only the Second and Two podcast, but 2024. We're coming to you from the new year.
True.
We're probably the last ones to wish you Happy New Year since we're recording 2 days since January 1st. But Happy
we
New
made
Year
it.
from the Second and Two podcast to you. And I'm your host, TB, and I got my co-host, Man of the Year 2023, producer extraordinaire, Jody. Morning, Joe. What's up?
Good, man. You know, like you said, it's the new year. I started off the new year on a bad foot. I actually went to work late. It was so the way it played out was I didn't set my alarm for that day. I knew I had work in the morning, but the way I do it, I normally look at my schedule for the week, set it up for those days, and then I'll do that every week. Well, this past week, I didn't do that on the Sunday. So I knew I had work at 5:30. And I was laying in bed and I was like, man, I feel like I've been here a while. Because mind you, I went to bed at like 8:30 the day before. First time in like I don't know how long. I was just tired of falling asleep watching the football games. And so I was sitting there and I was like, I feel like I've been in bed a long time. I grabbed my phone and it said 5:29. I said, oh, I did not set my alarm. I got out my bed,
Oh,
grabbed shorts, grabbed a shirt, started
that
driving
is
to
a
work.
terrible feeling.
And I was like 10 minutes late and I was like, all right, well, what a start to the year. I was like, now not only am I late, like now I just look dumb. Like, oh, this guy couldn't show up to work on the first day of the year on time. And mind you, I've only
Probably thought
been
you
late
were
like 3 or 4 times.
having too good of a time New Year's Eve.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And I literally was in bed at 8:30. I didn't even get to watch the ball drop in New York. That's how early I went to
Man,
bed.
man, that is wild because it should be noted you are in Pacific time. That's
Yeah, that's what
9
I'm
p.m.
saying. Yeah. I'm saying the last
Wow.
time I remember seeing the time was 8:22. And,
Wow.
so I was late that day. It is what it is. But other than that, I mean, I guess it's been all right. I don't know. How do you feel about resolutions? Are you big on those, or do you just set goals?
I'm not a huge resolutions guy.
Yeah, me
I
neither.
think I made a joke the other day. I said someone asked me what my resolution was, and I said that I set my New Year's resolution on July 4th. Because I said, why do we have to wait for January 1st to decide we want
Yeah,
to be better?
yeah, you're not
Um,
wrong.
that was my whole point. Which, not to, maybe that sounds like I'm being a jerk. If you have decided something and you're going to stick to it and be consistent, like, good for you, and I'm
Yeah,
happy, and I'm not making fun of, uh, you know, strive to be better.
yeah. No, I get that.
I think what I'm simply making fun of is the idea that we have to wait till
Till the
January 1st to
first.
do that,
Yeah.
and then everyone does it for a month or whatever it
Mhm.
might be. So I think, on a professional and personal level, I feel like I'm always evaluating myself
Yeah.
and trying
No,
to
that makes
figure out what
sense.
I can do to be better. So, yeah, I don't ever feel the need to. I don't think I've ever made a New Year's resolution, actually, to be honest with you.
I feel like I probably just like say some things, but I like know it's never gonna stick. It's like you just throw it out the wall and hope something plays out. You could just say a million things and hopefully you at least stick with one.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I just told myself last year I only read one book, so I want to read two this year. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, that's something achievable.
I want to
I
read
was
too.
reading I was reading the second book, but I stopped on the third chapter, so I was like, I might as well start that one over and read a different one after that, and from there,
Yeah, I feel like
mission accomplished.
the two most common resolutions: read more and lose weight.
Yeah,
Workout more slash
true.
be healthier, that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
what's funny is I told myself I was going to start eating better at the beginning of December.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, see, okay,
I
so
guess that
funny
was
you
kind of
say
my
that.
New Year's resolution was at the beginning of December. However, that was so hard during the holidays that I did
It's
kind of good,
tough,
but
trust
not
me, no,
great.
I get that.
Uh,
No,
but
do you listen to Nightcap at all?
mm-mm.
Okay, so that's Shannon Sharp and Chad Johnson, Ocho Cinco, whatever you want
I've
to call
seen
them.
it. I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
Yep, yep, yep.
so I've added them to my rotation because they go on nights that there's football, basically. So they go Thursday night and it releases Friday, so on and so forth. And they were talking about New Year's resolutions on the one that they had on the 31st, and Shannon was basically saying the same thing as you, where why would you wait till the first? Like you could do it in December, like you said, get an early start on it,
Mhm.
something similar. And then Chad Johnson was like, well, it's not just that, you need the consistency. Like, say you go the first and you're like, I'm gonna work out every day. Well, you go that whole month, and does it continue after that, or does it fall off because you did it for that 1 month?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so it's a little bit of both, where it's just like the determination to get it done and then actually fulfilling it, two separate
yeah.
things. So yeah, I
Speaking
get
of the
that.
determination to get it done and actually fulfilling it, we got to talk about the college football playoff before we dive into the NFL.
Yeah, yeah,
And I
I
would just
know.
like to say that my picks in the preseason, I picked Michigan, Georgia, Texas, and USC. Those were my.
Mhm. Yeah,
I wasn't too far off. Swap Georgia for Alabama, swap USC for Washington, right? And then we didn't record for a couple weeks. Had we recorded, I would have given you my picks for those games. I went with
mhm,
Michigan and Texas. All right.
yeah.
Texas's secondary just did not match up against that
UW was going crazy.
UW receiving core. So, but hats off to all four of those teams because they gave us
They were all
two
good
great
games.
games.
Yeah,
Great games.
that's the first in like a while too, I'd say, for the
Well,
14.
last year we got two pretty good games. The Michigan TCU game was kind of weird. Georgia Ohio State was arguably one of the best preseason,
Yeah,
semifinal games we'd ever gotten. I mean, right up there with the Rose Bowl between Oklahoma and Georgia. And I think it was 2017. Um,
I wasn't even paying attention to college back then, to be honest.
oh, you missed a doozy, bro. Double overtime. For whatever the reason, the Rose Bowl is the host site of some really good
Yeah,
college football semifinal games. But anyway, so we've really gotten four good games in a row in the semifinal. Prior to that, yeah, it felt like there was always at least one blowout.
one blowout and then one maybe good one. Yeah,
Yep. But yeah, I think we were set up for an epic national championship game on Monday. It's good on good. Washington has one of the best, if not the best, O line in America. They won the Joe Moore Award this year, which is given out to the best O line. Michigan had won that the previous
hey,
2
that's
years in a
sick.
row, and Washington got it this year. They've only given up 11 sacks all year. That's like one a game. That's not even one a
Not
game.
even.
That's
Yeah,
insane. That's insane for how much they run drop back pass. Michigan ranks 19th in the country in sacks created. I believe they're at 38 when I looked at the NCAA website. I don't know if that's before or after the Alabama game. So after the Alabama game, they might be up to 44 now.
okay.
Because I think that only tallies your regular season sacks. So, but they're top 20 in the country at generating sacks versus top four. UW is number 4 in the country at sacks
Yeah,
allowed.
that's a
So
crazy stat.
you're talking good on good. Michigan is number 2 in the country, I believe, at passing yards allowed. UW is number 1 in passing yards. You got Will Johnson, who's probably going to be one of the best corner prospects in next year's draft because he's only a sophomore right now, versus
Huh.
Rome Odunze, who's arguably,
That
I know
dude's a
everyone loves
beast.
Marvin Harrison Jr., but
Yeah,
Rome Odunze, people who hadn't been paying attention, hope you saw that against Texas because this dude is legit and he's right there with Marv in terms of top 2 receivers in the country. So you got good on good, strength on strength. That Michigan defense versus that Washington offense. We'll see who wins that matchup. And then who's Michigan's offense versus UW's defense. Who can be less of a liability? Because generally that's been the liability for both those teams for much of the season. And I say that it's in comparison to what their historic offenses and defenses have done. Not that, the Michigan offense got it done in the Rose Bowl to win the game, and the UW defense got it done at the end late to win the game. So
Yeah.
all these units are capable of winning games. Obviously, we saw both teams had special teams mishaps, muffed punts that cost them points.
Bro,
For
you guys
both
got
teams,
lucky on that one.
Michigan certainly cost themselves multiple points there with the muff punt, all
Mhm.
the field position in the second half. I kept talking about it during the game with the people I was watching it with. It's just, hey, they're killing us in the punting battle. It's not sexy, but they're
Yeah.
killing us, and it's gonna pay off for them eventually if Michigan doesn't flip the field, and they never did. And finally, after a full quarter of those two teams just punting it back and forth to each other, but Michigan punting it shorter and Bama punting it deeper and Michigan punting it
Yeah.
short. Finally, Bama got great field position at the end of that third quarter, set themselves up to score and take the lead right at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So it wasn't just the muff punt or the missed field goal or the botched snap on the PAT. I mean, it was a lot. They almost lost the game at the end on another muffed punt.
Yeah.
Whether it had been a
That's
safety
what I
or a
was saying. You
touchdown for Bama, would have been game over right
dodged that
there.
bullet late.
So I think both of these teams obviously want to clean up special teams, but because Washington also had the running into the kick catch interference towards the end that gave Texas great field position instead of being pinned, which
Yeah.
allowed them to get themselves closer to the end zone for that last throw. That really had a shot to win them the game. So this is, I think, one for the people who haven't been watching the Pac-12 this year. The Pac-12 is legit. I've been telling that to everyone who would listen all year,
Yeah.
and no one took me seriously out here because it's the South, and they're like, "Well, the West
Yeah, that
Coast
makes sense.
sucks."
They're
Everyone
all
just
where they
thinks that.
built was it Big 12? Is that what they care about?
Yeah, in Texas, it's really gonna become SEC country, but yeah, here it's the Big 12, or that they obviously believe the SEC is the best,
Yeah.
and generally, 9 out of 10 years in the last 20 years, that,
Probably a
25,
true
30
statement.
years, that's been true,
Yeah.
yeah. But this year, it's just not true. There's a reason there's not an SEC team in the national championship this year. They're not the
That's a
best.
fact.
This year, they're just not. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that the Big Ten is the best. The Big Ten top to bottom was terrible. At the
Yeah.
top, it was pretty good. But then you even
Yeah.
watch Ohio State and Penn State in
And
the
the
bowl
drop
games. They didn't
off.
look great. And obviously, those two teams, Ohio State was not the same team that they were at the end of the regular season with all the transfer portal opt out guys.
Yeah.
Not the same team, but still.
Okay, quick question
Um,
on that. I know you're going off on like different teams and stuff, but do you feel that going to a 12 team is going to just make that worse? Cuz that means they got to play at least like 2 or 3 more games to get to the Natty. You know what I mean?
so I am really interested. So there's a lot of dynamics at play. The thing that people are upset about is that the transfer portal opens in early December,
Mhm.
which is before the end of the college football season. But the reason it
Okay.
opens then is because you cannot, you have to
A
be
semester or
enrolled.
something? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to be enrolled at most schools for the next semester by early January. So if you
Yeah.
haven't hit the portal by then, you're not enrolling in another team. And then you
Yeah.
can't do spring ball with that team because you're not, which obviously is vital. It's a vital part of
Yeah.
it.
Learn the
So
stuff especially a little early.
there's a lot of problems with college football right now. Obviously everyone is upset about NIL. I think even players to a
Yeah.
certain extent, just because it's so wide open. I've seen the idea of a salary cap. I think that would be a good idea, quite frankly. I still like the
That's
idea of
interesting.
revenue sharing with the players,
Oh,
in
definitely.
addition to or instead of or whatever NIL. NIL was a really good first step into letting the kids make money that
Make
they
money.
deserve to make.
Yeah. Yeah.
But moving forward, I saw what Chip Kelly said. I don't know if you saw that, but I thought that was a great idea where you just break college football away from other Division One
Everything else?
sports, separate them,
Yeah.
In other Division I sports, you keep your conferences, you do what you need to do for travel and stuff. But like in football,
Yeah, it's
let's
gonna
make
be a
it
weird concept.
one giant concept. You play your regional teams. You know, you have certain matchups against other regions yearly. The teams don't get to
Yeah.
decide the schedule. The schedule rotates itself.
Ooh,
Uh,
that'd be sick.
you have a legitimate playoff. You have players getting part of the revenue sharing. Like, and let's go. I mean, you cap NIL at a salary cap. You you know, all the players get like some kind of equal revenue share, but then the best players make more in the NIL, but you salary cap
Yeah.
that NIL, and everyone has their boosters who can, you know, put money into that, but
Fun
there's a
there.
cap on
Yeah.
it. And then, you know, you figure out the biggest thing right now, I think that sucks is opt-outs will probably be not as bad next year because you're going to have more
There's
teams
still
playing in
something to play
playoff
for.
games. Yeah, games that
Yeah.
matter. So we'll see more meaningful, fun bowl games essentially because they'll be playoff games. However, the transfer portal stuff is going to be weird
Yeah.
because as a kid, you know, it puts the kids in a really tough spot because if my team is in the playoff, but I know I want to hit the portal,
Mhm.
I can't like what I
Can't
mean,
really
what
play
am I
with
going to
them.
do? Leave a playoff team? Like my team has a chance to win a national championship, but
Yeah.
maybe I'm
Facts.
not going to play, you know what I mean? Like I know this place I'm not going to play here next year. I need to hit the portal. I don't know. It's a lot of weird and I don't know that there's like a great fix to it just because the kids have to enroll in classes by a certain point for the next year, and they need to
Yeah,
be in
next
that for the next
semester
semester
forward.
so they can do spring ball at the new school. I don't know, man. It's a lot. And then you got the early signing period in early December. I mean, I am not envious of like being a Power Five head coach right now because you
Yeah.
juggle the month of December has just got to be like a terrible month for those guys. You
Oh,
know,
especially going forward.
unless you're in the college football playoff, basically. And then it's
Yeah.
just preparation. But yeah, well, I didn't know that we were going to get on here and rant about college football today. I wasn't even expecting that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no, that's
there's a
true,
lot we
but there's
can.
a lot of question marks about it, though, in my head at least.
Um,
Like, I feel like going to 12 is cool, but I think probably 8, maybe even 6 is probably a better spot just because having that range of games, it just
this
seems like
year,
way too much, you know?
8 would have been so perfect. It would
Yeah,
have been so perfect. I mean, because there were legitimately 8 teams alive going into that last week in the conference
true.
championship week, where it felt like, hey, or at least eight teams going into the last week of the regular season. Because going into the conference championship week, Ohio
Where that
State
last
kind
game
of
truly
wasn't
mattered.
alive.
Yeah.
There was more like 7, but even still, Ohio State was good enough that like an 18 playoff where you go, you know, Michigan at 1, Oregon at 8. You're telling me Michigan, Oregon wouldn't have
Yeah.
been a really fun battle? Uh,
Yeah.
Washington at 2, Ohio State at 7. You're telling me Washington, Ohio State, the two best receivers in the country, that wouldn't have been fun to watch if you
It
had,
was a
you know, kept
Texas
the same.
FSU.
Yeah. If you kept the same rankings, it would have been Texas at 3, Florida State at 6. You're telling me that wouldn't have been fun? Quinn Ewers versus, you know, obviously in a perfect
Whoever they
world,
put
like
up.
healthy Jordan Travis, you know,
Yeah,
and if that was the case, maybe it flips. Maybe at Florida State's at 3, and you know Texas is
true.
actually at
Yeah.
4 or whatever. But I mean, regardless, and then 4 or 5 at that point would be Georgia Bama. We already saw that in the
Yeah,
SEC
yeah.
championship. We know that's a
True.
good one. That's a doozy, right? So like, no matter what, I think what's interesting about that though is if you boil that down, the way the conference realignment worked out, that's almost an all SEC Big Ten 18 playoff.
Yeah, that's true.
The only team in that wouldn't have been that would be Florida State, ACC. That's it. Everyone else is now essentially SEC or
Let's
Big
take the
Ten.
2. Yeah.
Um, so I wonder how long it takes us to get to what Chip Kelly's talking about because it does feel like the ACC and the Big 12 aren't going to be as good as the SEC and the Big Ten, especially if Florida State's going to get out of the ACC. Because if Florida State gets out, don't be surprised if Clemson, Miami
But yeah, they
get
all
out too.
follow.
Yeah. So really interesting. I mean, conference
So Notre Dame
realignment.
was right this whole time, huh? Just being
No,
solos.
no, we're not going to say that. No, no, we're not going there. All right, don't start giving Notre Dame reason to puff their chest out. Okay. But let's get to the NFL. Oh, the whole point of my conversation there, the reason I'm giving you that, I'm just excited to watch that national championship Monday. I think it's going to be a classic. I'm going to take Michigan to win. I think the way I see the game playing out, in all likelihood, I think Michigan's going to be able to run the ball. I think they may have some stuff early on for Washington defensively that could confuse Penix,
Yeah.
make it a little bit tougher, at least for a quarter until he figures it out. So I could see Michigan getting up early, maybe 14-0, but then Penix starts figuring out that defense and he starts slinging.
Yeah.
So I think the game ends in like the 30s. I think it ends up being close with UW kind of making a comeback after getting beat up a little bit early. I have a feeling neither one of these teams has shied away from a challenge all year. There's a reason they're both undefeated. They both face adversity and come through every time. I think the way that both these teams won their games was so indicative of their seasons. UW has basically played in a close game in every game they've been in. Michigan has dominated their schedule, so it's kind of interesting. So that's why I kind of think Michigan may jump out to a lead early, but UW comes firing back. I think it's a game that ends with both teams in the 30s. Yeah, one-score game in the 30s. Michigan wins. Michigan kind of holds on after getting up early. That would be my guess. So I guess I'll give you 35-31 Michigan.
There you go. Yeah, and I mean, I couldn't give you no prediction, but I'm sure it's going to be a great game. That's all I'm going to say,
Also,
That's all we can
just
hope
want to
for
give
at the end of the day.
just want to pour one out really quick for our guy Mitch in Texas.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
Yeah. So, okay, funny thing is before we get to the NFL, obviously they lost. And Johnny got a video, I think, of Jax hitting the horns down. Send that to him. Yeah. And then I was scrolling Instagram the other day and Kelsey Plum went to UW and she had a video of her at the game after. It was just like looks at her friend and was just like so I sent that to our little group chat on Instagram. And then this fool later on in the day sends me a video. It's like a sign on the like not a billboard, not that big, but like the ones on the road where it's like, oh, new housing this way, and it says like, you matter or something. He was like, man, I need this after today. And I was like, oh, I probably put some salt in the wound with that UW video, but my bad, bro.
That's really funny. All right, so we're going into week 18. We got to talk some NFL here. We'll just run down kind of the big news and start talking about some matchups. We're also going to do a 2023 year in review, best and worst takes from each of us. And then obviously we'll get to our awards here. So starting with the NFL news, we got both 1 seeds clinched, both conferences. Ravens and 49ers clinched it. Ravens clinched it with a win over Miami. The Niners clinched it with a win over Washington, and then the surprising loss by Philly to Arizona.
Arizona, yeah. Struggle bus for Philly out there right now.
Yeah. I don't know what's up with Philly, man. They not only lost any chance at the 1 seed, they probably won't get to host a playoff game now. They're probably going to be the 5 seed. Yeah, I think that Dallas is going to win. As long as Dallas beats the Commanders this weekend, they win the division. So Philly, in order to win it, has to beat the Giants and watch Dallas lose to the Commanders. Now, Dallas is on the road, and they are a different team on the road. It should be noted.
They're not that good on the road.
So, can Dallas exercise a demon and win on the road, or will the Jacoby Brissett, Sam Howell, whoever starts at quarterback, get them? We had some referee issues.
Speaking of Dallas, I was gonna say, speaking of Dallas, man, those referee fumbled the game low key at the end of the game. I don't know how you feel about it. Where
I've got it in my no cap hats off award today. So I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. So we have 20 teams still alive for the playoffs. A total of 9 teams have clinched. 5 spots are still up for grabs. 4 division titles still up for grabs.
And then
3
wild
wild
cards
card
as well.
spots,
Yeah.
and then there's 11 teams who have not clinched that are still alive to get a playoff spot. So it feels like a lot of teams, still 20 teams.
In the hunt.
Um,
Crazy.
in the NFC, we've got 11 teams alive. The teams that have clinched, the 49ers, Cowboys, Lions, Eagles, and Rams have all clinched a playoff spot.
Yeah.
The Eagles and Rams, the Rams are a wild card team no matter what. They will be the 6 or the 7 seed.
Mhm.
The Eagles will either be the 5 or the 2 seed. The Cowboys could be the 2, 3, or 5 seed. The Lions
That's
will be the
crazy.
2 or the 3 seed.
Yeah.
49ers, we already talked about, they have the 1 seed locked up. And then any one of the Bucks, Saints, or Falcons could win the division and be the 4 seed. They could
Mhm.
all also,
Win that last
not
spot.
all of them. The Bucks and Saints could get a wild card spot. The Falcons cannot get a wild card spot. The only way they get in is if they win the division. The Packers, the Seahawks, the Saints, the Vikings, and then the Falcons are all still alive. Those first 4 teams being alive for a wild card spot. The Saints and obviously the Falcons being alive for the division. The Saints are still technically alive for a wild card as well. In the AFC, still got 9 teams alive. All right. You've got the Ravens, the Dolphins, the Chiefs, and the Browns have all clinched. The
Yep.
Ravens are the 1 seed. The Dolphins are the
Yep.
2 seed. The Chiefs are the 3 seed.
Well,
The Browns are the 5 seed.
can't the Dolphins still lose it this weekend versus the
Yes,
Bills?
the Dolphins could
Okay.
lose the division and become the 6th seed. I think the Browns are locked into 5th. So the Dolphins
Okay.
will either be 2 or 6. The Chiefs are locked in at 3, I believe. And then the Jaguars, Colts,
Yeah.
and
They only
Texans
have like
could
8
all
wins, I
still
think, or
win.
9.
Yeah, the Jaguars, the Colts, and Texans could all still win the division and end up as the 4 seed. The
Mhm.
Jaguars have the best shot to do it. As long as they beat the Titans, they are the 4 seed.
Yeah, they're chilling.
Now, the most interesting team of the entire weekend to me is the Bills. Because if the Steelers win and then Colts Texans doesn't end in a tie, which feels likely, the Ravens have the 1 seed locked up. They're probably not going to play anyone against the Steelers. The
Yeah.
Steelers are playing for their playoff lives. Tomlin
Yeah.
is really good. He has a 5-0 record in the last 3 years in week 17 and 18. He's
Jeez.
been fantastic in this spot. So I expect the Steelers to win. I
Yeah.
expect Colts Texans to be a great game, but I don't expect it to be a tie. As long as those 2 things happen, the Bills would be playing for their playoff lives against the Dolphins. The Bills either win if that happens on Sunday Night Football, the Bills either win the division and get the 2 seed, or they lose and they're out of the playoffs
That's
entirely.
crazy. If the Steelers win?
Yep. If the Steelers win and Colts Texans doesn't end in a tie, because what happens is the Steelers, by virtue of I think conference record, win the tiebreaker over the Bills
Oh,
to get in.
okay.
So the Steelers' path to the playoffs, they need a win and either a loss by the Bills or the Jaguars.
Okay.
If the Jaguars lose, then I think what happens is they're in, and like the Jags and Bills, it goes down to a tiebreaker. Something I can't remember exactly how that works, but I just know the Steelers, they're in with a win and a loss by either one of those 2 teams.
Okay.
So that Dolphins-Bills game on Sunday Night Football is not only for the division, but it could
For
be a
playoffs
win or
too.
out situation for the Bills.
Dang. That's
Yeah.
tough.
We could you imagine a world where the way the Bills are playing, now they get a home
And they
game
get
against the
snubbed.
Dolphins. Or no,
Yeah.
they gotta go to
Well, they
Miami.
got on
I'm
the
sorry.
road, but it's a night
Yeah.
game, which
It's a night
helps a little
game
bit.
at Miami. If they can't win that game on the road against Miami, that they would just be
They might
out. We
miss
just wouldn't
out.
even have Josh
Yeah.
Allen in the playoffs this year. I think every AFC team would be like, "Whew." like,
Yeah.
like, sweet. We don't have to see those guys. I really think that's how every AFC team would feel. And it's crazy because the Bills have won like, what is it, like 5 in a row? 4
I
in a
think probably
row?
5
Yeah,
of the
4 in a
last
row.
6 or something.
They were 6-6, and now they're 10-6. So they have won 4 in a
Mm.
row, which is just insane. So yeah, I mean, based on all that, I went to ESPN and looked at what are the most likely matchups.
Outcomes.
Um,
Okay.
So what's funny is if you look in the AFC, the most
Oh.
likely 2 seed is the Bills. You know who the most
Okay.
likely 7 seed is?
The Steelers, I see.
The Bills. So they actually have the highest percentage chance among the teams like that have a chance to be there, right?
Huh.
ESPN has gives them, because it's a head to head with the Dolphins, they give them about a 55% chance to win that game
Okay.
and get the 2 seed. But then if they lose, they still give them about a 30 something percent chance to get the 7 seed, which is the highest of all the
Okay.
teams. So
That
obviously the
makes sense.
matchup there would not be Bills versus Bills. So the next highest team
Yeah,
was the
yeah.
Steelers. So it would be Bills.
Ah,
A 2-7 matchup right now on ESPN would be Bills Steelers.
okay.
Your 3-6 would be Chiefs Dolphins.
I would like to see that. See Tyreek play those dudes again. See what he
Your
does.
4-5 Jaguars Browns. So this actually has the Colts and Texans both out in terms of the likeliest
That's
scenarios.
tough.
Now, doesn't mean that's going to happen, but very possible. In the NFC, you have the 2 seed Cowboys is most likely
Mhm.
versus the 7 seed Seahawks. Now, the team with the actual highest percentage chance here would actually be the Rams to get the 7 seed, but the Rams have the highest percent chance to get the 6 or the 7, just
Okay.
because they're already
I
guaranteed
mean,
in.
just 'cause
They
they
have
already
about a
clinched.
50,
Yeah, that's true.
yeah, they're 59% shot to get the 6 seed, 41 to get the 7. But then behind them, Seattle at 27%, and behind them, Green Bay at 23%. So,
Okay.
but Seattle really doesn't have a shot to get the 6 seed. So all their playoff percentages are lined up in the 7, whereas Green Bay, if they finish with the same record as the Rams, they win a tiebreaker over the Rams. They would actually be the 6th seed.
Ooh,
So
okay.
Green Bay has the 3rd highest shot to get the 7, but the 2nd highest shot to get the 6. So it's kind of interesting the way this played out. Green Bay isn't in these matchups, but they actually have a better chance of being in the playoffs than Seattle.
Gotcha.
So if the Rams and Packers were both to win, then it would be Cowboys versus Packers. Now, that Rams 49ers
Mm,
game is really interesting because the 49ers have the
yeah.
1 seed
I was gonna
clinched.
bring that up.
Christian McCaffrey is not going
He's
to
not
play
gonna
because he got a
play.
low calf
Yeah.
strain. They haven't revealed what they'll do with like guys like Brock Purdy and Debo and Kittle and you know the best players on their
IU.
team. Now
Yeah.
the Rams on the flip side have clinched the playoff spot. Been a lot of rumblings we might see Carson Wentz instead of Matthew Stafford this week. So
Ooh,
it could be like backups versus backups in
backups.
that game because both teams are kind of feeling like, we're good.
We rest. Yeah. We're in the
Now,
playoffs, especially the
there is an
Niners,
argument, I
the 1
think
seed.
there's an argument on both sides to kind of play your guys. If you're the Niners, you know
Russ
you have the
versus
1 seed,
rest.
that means you're gonna get a bye week next week. Do
Yeah.
you really wanna give your guys 2 weeks
2
off?
extra. Yeah.
That's a long time. And really,
Play a
it becomes 1 game. If you do the math, they played this past Sunday. So
Mhm.
this week is a whole week they don't play. The next week is
Yeah.
a whole week. That's 2 whole weeks they don't play.
Yeah.
The next week is a 3rd week. So you would be playing 2 games in a span of like 20 something days. It would only be your 2nd game in like 20 something
Yeah.
days.
It is a tough situation for sure.
Exactly.
Especially, like,
So,
because if you don't got that much time, like, getting banged up, like, yeah, sure, you get to rest, heal up, blah, 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 but you also don't
I
have
mean, you
that
saw
game
it in the
speed in a
college football
minute.
playoff. When
Yeah.
all those teams haven't played in a month, they all look sloppy.
Yeah.
Your body gets out of rhythm. So San Francisco has a decision to make from that standpoint. On the Rams side,
Mhm.
there's an argument like go win the one. You haven't beaten the Niners in the
Yeah.
regular season in like
Lock up
4
that
years.
6 seed.
Go win the game and lock up the 6th seed to give yourself an
Yeah.
easier path in the playoffs. Because I mean, I think going to Detroit right now is an easier path than going to Dallas.
Yeah.
Just
No, definitely.
keep it real. They're both good teams. It's not to say but
Well,
just
and
Dallas
they
is unreal
played
at home.
Dallas already too.
They played Dallas
That
on yes,
wasn't pretty.
and
I
it
mean, that
wasn't
was
great.
still earlier in the year, but
It was
it
early in the
wasn't
year
pretty.
before they went on the run, but yes. So there's
Yeah.
definitely an argument for the Rams to play. But anyway, your most likely 3-6 matchup in the NFC is Lions, Rams, and then 4-5 Bucks, Eagles. Now,
Mhm.
as I said, the AFC and NFC South is interesting because both divisions have 3 teams that could win it.
Yeah.
Then you've got the NFC East is up for grabs. They're not playing each other though. And I explained that one
Yeah,
earlier.
true.
And then the AFC East is up for grabs, and that's a head-to-head division title on Sunday
Mhm.
Night
Yeah,
Football.
good one.
So we've got some good stuff. Um, 20 teams alive. That's fun. There's parity in the NFL, and we'll see what happens. We'll obviously be on here, I'm sure, Sunday night this week, if we
Yeah.
can,
Yeah.
to
I'm
break down the playoffs, to preview the playoff matchups after we've seen the results of all the games. There's no Monday Night Football game, obviously, this week. So
Mhm.
as soon as that Sunday Night Football game is over, going into that Sunday Night Football game, we'll likely know most of the matchups, and it'll just be, I mean, realistically, we
Our
could know
last
every matchup
game.
except for the 2-7, basically,
Yeah.
because it'll be up to who wins that division. But yeah, going to be really interesting. There may be some Steelers fans out there who are just rooting so hard for the Dolphins.
Yeah, no, for real.
And we'll see what happens. But we did want to look at our year in review, best and worst takes on this pod. All right. So everyone, likes to reflect on their 2023 as we head into 2024. We're no different on this podcast. We want to talk about what did we get right? What did we get wrong? So, Joe, I'll let you go first. Give me something you got right.
All right, so a lot of my takes that are like somewhat right haven't necessarily happened yet. There are a lot of up in the air, could happen at the end of the week. So the first one, I went with this one because I mean he was getting in talks for possible MVP. Looked at the odds of offensive player of the year. He's negative on there, highest guy on there. So I went with Christian McCaffrey to win the offensive player of the year. That looks
Mhm.
like it's gonna happen. I
I think
have
that's a
that.
lock.
I called that at the beginning of the year when we did our like award winners. But then again, on the flip side, like I had Aaron Rodgers who played 4 snaps, as an MVP. So it's not that
Whoa,
I
whoa, whoa.
was
We're
right
not
on
getting the
all those
worst
awards.
takes yet. We're not
No,
getting the
that's not a
worst
worse
takes
one.
yet.
I'm just giving you a take of
It should be.
not like I called this, but like on the flip side, I had something that just wasn't even close. But for the good, CMC at offensive player of the year looks very good right now. And
I
him
mean, he
not
should be,
playing this last
unless,
week should be chilling because
yeah,
it's
he's
like,
not
what are they gonna
playing.
compare it to?
I think the only person who could just, like, if they just went off against the
Tyreek?
Bills would be Tyreek Hill. That'd be the
Yeah.
only
Well,
way CMC loses it.
I think the reason he was getting MVP talks was just because everyone thought he was getting 2,000, which I don't think is
Yeah,
gonna happen anymore.
it's not now. But
Yeah.
like I said, if you went crazy
Yeah.
in
No,
week
you're not
week
wrong.
18 against the Bills, then maybe
That would
you could
snub him out,
see,
the offset of the
maybe
win
you
game.
could give it to him over Christian McCaffrey. But I think
Yeah.
that the clear offensive player of the year should be Christian McCaffrey. My best take of 2023, I think, was Lamar for MVP. I was really hot on that. If you remember, I liked the new
Mhm.
OC, Todd Monken.
Yeah,
Told
you loved
everyone he
it.
was a better passer than
Good
we had given
fit.
him credit for. I'm just, you know what? I liked Lamar when he came out of the draft. I really thought
Yeah.
people sort of mischaracterized who he was as a player. Everyone loved his dynamic running ability, but people really didn't think he could throw. But there's
Yeah.
tape. Go back and watch the Louisville tape. There's tape there that shows you he's accurate. Was he inconsistent at times? Yeah. But people would like say he was just not accurate. That's just not true if you watch his tape. I remember hearing all that stuff, but then actually watching the tape and being like, oh, none of that's really true. I mean, again, he's grown leaps and bounds since getting in the
Yeah. No,
NFL. But
for sure.
I could say the same thing
I
about
could agree
Josh
with that.
Allen. I could say the same thing about Patrick Mahomes. I could say the same thing about Jalen Hurts, right? Like
Yeah.
all these dudes, they get in the league, they obviously get better if they're going to be that kind of player, that kind of quarterback.
True.
But I still think that there was tape at Louisville that told you he was a legitimate quarterback. It was egregious and ridiculous when Bill Polian told him to switch positions. And maybe the 2019 MVP wasn't enough for people. They wanted to see him be more quarterbacky,
Uh-huh.
apparently, which I thought that a lot of people had fun with that on Twitter this week with the 5 touchdowns, no pick game. Is that
Yeah, we'll talk
quarterbacky
about
enough
that
for
later
you?
too.
But it looks like he locked up the MVP in week 17.
Yeah.
He's got a
Yeah, no,
career high
definitely.
completion percentage. He's got a 24-7 touchdown interception ratio. He's got his team as the AFC's 1 seed locked
Mhm.
up. He may not even play in week 18. The odds obviously now are like way, way, way in his favor. It's like super. He's locked up. So that's my best take for sure of 2023. Joe, unless you want
Did
to
you wanna
comment
go?
on Lamar MVP, I was gonna see what
No,
your
I'm rocking with
worst
that
take.
too. I was gonna say I was gonna ask if you wanted to go good, bad, or just all goods, all bads. But yeah.
No,
So my
gotta go
first
good
my
bad.
first bad take was me talking about Gardner Minshew earlier in the year. As soon as the Colts lost Anthony Richardson, I said they were done. I thought they weren't gonna make it, at least to where they're at right now, playing for a possible playoff spot, let alone probably even going above 500 in the year. I had harped on Gardner Minshew. He was my cooking award that week actually, because he did terrible. I think he threw like 2 picks and a fumble or something that week. It wasn't pretty. And I was like, yeah, you want this guy being your quarterback going forward? And here he is in the position to possibly make the playoffs, playing the Texans in the last week. Like that alone, you got a combination of the Colts not being good anymore and Gardner Minshew being the quarterback was an all bad one for me. I didn't expect him to be good.
I think that's a fair bad take, just given that I think everyone thought that.
Yeah,
But
no, true, but the way it played out wasn't necessarily how I thought it would.
um, my worst take of the year, we're gonna go back to draft time. And I actually give myself some credit, watched enough tape that I feel like I got a lot of things right. Obviously missed some different guys. Like, I mean, couple Rams rookies, Kobe Turner, Puka Nacua in the
Yeah,
hunt for
Puka went
Rookie of the
crazy
Year
that year.
awards. Neither one of those guys even made my top 5 lists of guys that we evaluated. But for sure, the biggest miss I had of everyone we talked about on this podcast was Trenton Simpson, out
Mhm.
of Clemson. He was my
Yeah.
favorite true off-ball linebacker in the draft. Baltimore drafted him at pick 86 in the 3rd round, which when that happened, I was kind of like, ooh, that might be a tough place for him. Um, that's either unfortunate or fortunate for him. Unfortunate in the short
Yeah.
term, but could be fortunate in the long term just because he's playing behind two of the best linebackers in the league. Patrick Queen
Yeah.
and Roquan Smith
Roquan
are
Smith.
certified dogs. They could both be Pro Bowlers this year if you really watch the tape. So it's tough for him to get on the field.
Yeah,
I
no,
still,
for sure.
even with that, so there's not much tape to evaluate of him this year and saying like whether or not he's the guy I thought he was. But the fact that he even went as late as he did, round 3, pick 86, when I had
Mhm.
a near first round grade on him, it was disappointing when it happened in the draft for me because I really thought there was a lot more there for him for his game. Um, but there's still time. Maybe when he does eventually see the field, he's also developed behind those two really great players, and he will be a good player when he gets to see time. So I'm not giving up on
Yeah.
it, but at least for
It's
this
just
year,
you were early, if
2023,
anything, on the take. Yeah.
yeah, at least for 2023, right now, projected, he's one of the only of those 5 guys that we talked about. He's the only one who just doesn't play.
No,
So
yeah,
kind
yeah.
of kind of tough. Like even Noah Sewell, who I had as the 5th guy, plays a decent amount for Chicago. So,
Oh, I didn't know that,
um,
honestly.
yeah, so I kind of, unfortunately, it feels like a whiff right now, but I'm
Uh-huh.
still holding out
There's still
stock,
time
playing the
for it to
long game
blossom.
here that could pay off later. We'll see.
Yeah, so my next good take actually came during our hot segment that we made up, like, a couple weeks back where it's like warm, hot,
Mhm.
burning, with the sun. I said Aaron Rodgers wasn't gonna play this year. After he came out and said, "Oh, I'm gonna come back for
I like
December
that
or
one.
whatever." I said, "No, there's not gonna happen." I knew. I shouldn't say I knew, but the Jets were not playing at a I don't know, competitive level where they were gonna win games and possibly be flirting with the playoffs, and that definitely was the case. Now we've seen Breece Hall go crazy in all these games that they lose, you know? And so at that time, I knew Aaron Rodgers wasn't coming back to take another snap, but he's looking healthy. My dude's out there slinging the rock like it's nothing right now, and he just gets more time to rest and come back next year.
Yeah, I think that was a good take for sure. My next best take of 2023 was the Rams back in the playoffs. I'm telling you, I
Yeah,
think
you did
every
call it.
outlet and expert had the Rams as one of the worst teams in football, obviously, let alone a
I know I
playoff
did
team.
going into the year.
I believed in their structure, McVay, Stafford, Cup, Donald,
Mm,
their culture, the scouting department, and Les Snead, just because they've always, despite I know what the everyone said, oh well, the F them picks model. doesn't win you championships.
Yeah.
And then it did, and so then everyone, "Oh, there's a bill that has to come due." Well, the bill would normally come due unless you are so good in rounds 3, 4, and 5, which the Rams have been consistently.
Mhm.
Cooper
Yeah,
Kupp, who
that's
everyone
true.
was, "Oh, he's a star." 3rd round pick, dude. Kyren Williams, 5th
Yeah,
round pick.
5th, right?
Puka
Yeah.
Nacua, 5th round pick. Kobe Turner, 4th round pick. Like, all these dudes who are breakout stars, who are rookies, second-year players, and then obviously Cooper's been in the league for a while.
What was
Um,
Byron Young? Was he 3rd?
3rd round pick,
Mm.
you know? I mean, and all these dudes have been fantastic. They've all been taken in the 3rd round or later. The only guys on their team that are true first-round stud, I mean, it's Aaron Donald, basically. That's it. Aaron Donald's a first-round
Yeah,
pick. Everyone else on their team, and then obviously Matthew Stafford was the number 1 pick in his draft, not by the
to the
Rams, but
Lions. Yeah.
basically everyone else on this team is a day 2 or later pick. They don't have, just a bunch of first-rounders on this team, but they've developed guys who are just ball players through day 2 and day 3 picks. And they just find the right guys who fit their scheme, fit their system, fit their culture, who will play well, learn, and be part of the system. I
Yeah.
mean, they've done it. And then even guys who they didn't draft that they signed on the fringes, a guy like Demarcus Robinson at receiver, who's emerged as like
He's
a
doing
great
great
3rd
right now.
receiver. He's been so good
Yeah.
that Tutu Atwell, since getting hurt,
Has
hasn't really
seen
been able to get back on
sidelines.
the field.
Yeah,
And Tutu was a breakout guy at the beginning of the year,
true.
right?
Playing the deep
You know,
routes.
guys like Akello Witherspoon, who was a camp signing. I mean, they're literally in training camp when, preseason camp when they signed him. And now he's become their best corner. Now, is he great all the time? He gives up some deep balls, but he's also made some really big plays on the ball for them this year with some interceptions
Mhm.
and pass breakups. So he's been a great signing. John Johnson III, they brought him back in like right before week 1. He
Yeah.
wasn't starting the first few weeks of the season. About week 7, he took it back over as the starting safety. He's been never looked back since. Like, so they've just managed the cap really well, took the cap hits, dead cap on guys like Jalen Ramsey this year, shed some of that money, Cam Akers, guys like that, and found replacements in late free agency or the draft and
Mhm.
have killed it. And so that's why they're back in the playoffs, and I'm not surprised at all. That's pretty much I said 9-8 playoffs. They're 9-7 right now. They could even surprise my expectations when I had them at 9-8 and be 10-7.
Yeah, my favorite thing out of all that is the receivers that they just block. I don't know how they get their receivers to buy in with them or even like Kyle Shanahan, maybe even a little bit of Mike McDaniels, but that's my favorite thing to watch is watching those dudes just get out there ahead of their running back and put a block downfield on like a safety. I love seeing that.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, shout out Eric Yarber, the receiver coach, because he does a heck of a job. I love whenever they do the like behind the scenes, and they'll show you the sideline and they do the mic'd up stuff or whatever. I
Yeah.
swear, Eric Yarber is like the ultimate hype man. He's always like they have you ever seen the one in the Super Bowl where Cooper Kupp catches had that crazy drive to win him the Super Bowl and then he comes off and Eric Yarber is just like, he's like a fan,
No,
bro.
I
Like
haven't.
he's
I'll have to
hyping him
watch
up.
that though.
It's so cool. You can tell he has a great relationship with those guys, and they play for
Uh-huh.
each other. So
Yeah,
that's a huge credit to
that's
Eric
the
Yarber.
best part. And let's see. So leading to my next bad take, I had Mike Tomlin and the Steelers getting. I had Mike Tomlin especially, I should say, to get his first losing record as a head coach, and here we
Woo!
are, 9 and
17
nine and
straight, baby.
or what 9-7 right now? Is that what they're
Yep.
at? Yeah, 9-7. He still got it done, and I also said the Steelers weren't good, so that kind of goes hand in hand with that. But
Well,
shout
you
out to the
weren't wrong
man.
for about 3 or 4 weeks there.
Yeah, they got Mason Rudolph again, and all of a sudden they're
Mason
slinging the
Rudolph has
rock like it's
turned into
nothing.
prime Peyton Manning, and now they're good
Yeah,
again.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't.
Um,
It makes you wonder though, like how come this rule hasn't been started? Like I don't know. It's a
it,
wild
it
situation.
it's like Geno a little bit. It's like Diet
Yeah,
Geno
true.
Smith, bro, where it just sat the
He
bench
didn't
for a
write
long
back.
time, learned, and I guess because the last time we saw Mason Rudolph, I believe, was like the Myles Garrett
Yeah,
head
that's what I was about to say.
helmet incident. Like we haven't
Yeah.
seen him since. Um, so I've got my next worst take of 2023. The Jets as a playoff team. I like the
Yeah, I
Aaron
could agree with
Rodgers
that.
move paired with that young explosive defense. I didn't think they would win the division like you did, but I did pick them to get to the AFC Championship because of the clutch
Mhm.
factor with Aaron Rodgers. His injury threw them off. So, like, you could say, like, oh,
Definitely.
well, Rodgers
Big
got hurt.
offset.
That's the only reason you were wrong. But honestly, their O-line issues, I think, might have still
Are
kept them from
huge.
being
Yeah.
what I thought they would be. So I overlooked that part of it. And, they need, if they're going to be anything next year other than like, a fringe wildcard team and a one playoff and out
Gotta
type
address
team,
it.
they have to fix their O line. Otherwise, they won't
Yeah.
be anything more than that. They won't be a true contender until they fix that O line because I know it was play 4 or whatever, but like that's part of why Rodgers got hurt. That O line
Yeah,
sucks.
he was
It,
trying to cut
there's
up
no
into
way
the
to
pocket
sugarcoat
and
it.
yeah.
And I don't like being like that negative about it, but like truly, they're not good. They need to fix it.
It's been an issue for sure. Let's see, my next good take. So this one, like I said with the first one where it hasn't really happened, but there's a lot of possibilities. It was just me calling some of these teams' records, right? So I have the Bills. I had them at 10-7. I believe they're at 10-6 right now. If they lose, that's a very possible situation. Cowboys 11-7. I think they're
11
wait
and 6.
11-6. Yeah, I think they're 11-5 currently. Yeah, or something.
Mm-hmm.
Very possible. Saints 9-8. If they win, that could happen.
Now that
Ravens
was a good
13 and
one
4.
because I really like the Saints, and you were like, pump the brakes on that. You were right. You were right on that
Yeah.
one for sure.
Ravens 13 and 4. If they, they rest Lamar, maybe Hundley can't get it done, although he makes it a
So
very
what you're
good
saying
game.
is you should have put some money on some over under win totals. That's what you
Oh,
need to
I
be doing
did.
next year.
No,
And
trust
you
me, I
won a
did.
lot. You won a lot.
I think we're still waiting on some of them. Like that Bills,
Okay.
I think it might have been like, I don't know, say 11.5 or something, and I took the
Or
under.
10 and
I
a
don't know.
half, and you went
Yeah,
under.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
So
So
some of
you
those
would
I'm
be
still
with
waiting
the
for. I
Steelers
did
fans
hit.
rooting for the Dolphins.
Yeah, true. I did hit on that Ravens one. That one came in early. That one
Yeah.
was nice. But like I had the Bengals as well. They did not perform to what I thought. Joe Burrow getting hurt didn't help, but you know, some things. The Bears, I had them 7-10. I think they already have 7 wins, so if they lose, like that one happens.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Niners, same thing with the Ravens. If they rest their dudes, 13-4, very well could happen if they lose to the Rams. So just some scenarios that I possibly could have guessed, or they do better than I thought. I don't know.
Nice. Nice. I like it. I'm going to go back to the draft here. And I said it on draft day when we recap the draft on this podcast. I thought the Lions had the best draft. Looks pretty clear now. I know a lot of people questioned the positions they drafted when they drafted them. Like people did not
Yeah.
like drafting a running back at 12 or a linebacker in back half of round 1. Like nobody liked that. However,
hmm
they drafted 4 of my favorite players at their positions in the entire draft.
It's true.
When you do that, I don't care. I don't care that he plays running back. Jahmyr Gibbs has been a weapon.
I feel like he got beefy this year too. I don't know. I feel like he
I
looked
mean,
tiny at Alabama compared to what he does now, which is
they
nice.
literally they have drafted 4 guys who are all impact players at their position this year. Like they're
Yeah.
not where they are without where would they be without those 4 guys? There's no way that they would be what they are without those 4 guys. I mean,
Yeah,
you're
Sam
talking about
Laporta.
Jahmyr Gibbs, Jack Campbell, Sam Laporta, Brian Branch. All 4 of those guys have been like not
Yeah,
just like good play, like
nice.
huge contributors. Like Laporta and Gibbs, you could argue,
Yeah.
have been next to Amon-Ra
Laporta
St.
in the
Brown as their
last
best
couple
offensive
weeks,
weapons.
like he's been a monster.
Yeah, Laporta's having one of the best rookie, if not the best rookie tight end season ever.
Yeah,
Um,
literally.
but again, you put those 2 guys next to Amon-Ra St. Brown, and the Lions have a legitimate offense. Obviously, they've got other players in that
Mhm.
offense that have been there for a little while making things happen, but like those 2 guys elevated it, no question. Defensively, Brian Branch has been a revelation for them as essentially a slot
Mhm.
corner, which when we talked about him, I liked him. I had him as a safety, but remember that he was a Swiss Army knife that could do that, and
Yeah.
that might be his real spot in the NFL, and that's what he's come into. And then out of all the 4 of them, Jack Campbell might be what you would call the worst player of those 4, but he's been
Yeah.
good. Like he's helped make it so that they don't have to rely on Malcolm Rodriguez, a 6th-round pick, to play the other off-ball linebacker next to Alex Anzalone. So
Mhm.
they've just all of those guys have been huge contributors, and you could also argue that Jack Campbell's helped make that defense it was one of the worst defenses in the NFL last year, and now it's
Yeah,
a
facts.
middling defense. It's pretty good, right? So, um, I just think they had the best draft, and it's not really that close right now. I mean, I would say that what the Rams were able to do with the picks they had obviously was really good because they may have the offensive rookie of the year and defensive rookie of the year. Like they literally
Mhm.
have Byron Young and Kobe Turner trading who's leading the rookies in sacks week to week. So they've got two defensive guys who are in the running for rookie of the year, and then they've got Puka Nacua, who
Who
it's it,
literally
it's
gonna set
it's
a
basically
record in receiving yards, I think.
as long as he plays. But
Yeah, true. That's
it's
true.
clear, like, okay, him versus CJ Stroud. And even if he doesn't win it and CJ Stroud wins it, which CJ Stroud gets the Texans to the playoffs.
Yeah. First year rookie head coach, rookie quarterback. Yeah.
I mean, that's really impressive. What Puka Nacua is doing is like literally
Well, it's
setting
crazy.
historic records. So
Yeah.
it's hard not to give it to him either. I don't know. I mean, I don't think you're wrong either way. I think they're both having incredible seasons. So the Rams had a really good draft too, but the Lions really, I think that they really
Mhm.
killed it. So
All right, leading into our last bad one that I have written down, it just comes down to Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence. I said Trevor Lawrence was possibly going to flirt with the MVP talks. Ultimately, I went with Aaron Rodgers, and I also thought the Jaguars going to be good. I think I had them winning like 11 games or something when we did that
everyone did.
back in the day, and it just didn't play out that way. They had a nice string of games in the middle of the year, but since then, Trevor Lawrence has been getting injured like every other week, and he hasn't been the same since. Not saying that they don't have a good team all around, they just haven't been playing good team ball. And I was definitely wrong on that, which is tough.
Yeah, everyone was wrong on that one though. You give yourself a little credit. Honestly, this last one, my last worst take here of the year, makes me truly angry because I was on this train for a while. Baker Mayfield.
Mhm.
I've been a guy who was like, nah, he's good. He's at least a middle of the
Middle
NFL
quarterback.
type guy.
Yeah.
And then after last season, I finally was like, well, I guess I
After he
just got to give
transferred all
up.
the teams. Yeah.
I just got to give up. And, so going into this offseason, I had him as the worst starting quarterback in the NFL on my QB tiers. And he absolutely obliterated me for doing that and
Mhm.
had basically the best season of his career. The Bucks, I thought, would be like one of the worst teams in the league because of
Yeah,
that.
me too. I
And
think
of
I had him
course,
like with 3 games.
yeah, and of course, they're now the most likely team to win that division and host a playoff game, Baker Mayfield. So I'm really upset about myself or at myself because I didn't
Yeah.
believe in my original thought, and I let last year the negatives of last season influence me off of it. But dang, Baker Mayfield, he's finally doing it. So that was a bad take by me, no
Mhm.
question.
I had them doing worse than the Panthers, bro. You know how crazy that is?
I know, I know. I thought Bryce Young was going to be better than him. That's stupid.
Yeah. No, I get that. But did you want me to do a quick breakdown of the fantasy before we get into these awards? Or just blow
You
by
won it,
that?
right? I mean, you won it
Yeah,
all.
I won. Yeah. So what
Figured.
happened was week
I didn't win
15.
anything.
Week 15, yeah, your team struggled late in the year. They did well all season until the
Ugh.
end. Week 14, your best player was it was Patty followed by JJ, both 15. Oh, and just Josh Allen at 16-16. And I beat you by 60 that week. Week
Jesus.
16, oh, week 16, my team went crazy with Brees Hall getting 43.
Oh,
Let's see. I
brutal.
beat you by what is that? 60, a little under 60. Your best dude was JJ at 26.1, followed by Josh Allen 25. And then no Jamar Chase that week is what did you dirty. Let's see. And then last week I did it for fun just to see how it would have played out. And last week you would have won by a small margin of 6, but at that
My
point it
team
was over.
finally
I hate
got
to
a
break it to you.
dub.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
Within
you
like
I think you
weeks.
literally went like 5 weeks of no dubs or something crazy.
which is
Let me double
crazy
check.
because basically we just took the top guys. So that's like
Yeah.
really wild. All right. We're moving
Yeah,
off
your
of that.
last win was
So,
week 11, so 6 weeks in a row, or
so
5 out of the last 6.
based on our bet, that means I have to come see you.
Yes, sir. Yeah, take the
All
trip,
right.
buy me
We'll
some
do a
food,
live
yeah?
pod
I
when
think
I
that's what it
come out.
was. Oh,
Yeah.
definitely. I already we're here. We're good to roll.
Let's go. We'll make that happen probably this summer.
Yeah, no doubt.
We'll make it happen. Let's get to awards and finish off the first podcast of 2024.
Sir, let's get into it. So I'll go ahead and go first on the Tukwa Gamer of the Week award. And on this week, I'm rolling with our guy Brees Hall. I talked about him a little bit throughout the episode already. He went 13 carries, 84 yards, and then 9 for 9 on catches, 42 yards and a touchdown. My guy had their only offensive touchdown in the game. And, I don't know how to break it down to you, but I do think he's been playing good ball the last couple weeks. Just, it's unfortunate they kind of got smoked a little bit in that game,
Mhm.
and he's the only one chugging along on the offense, really. And you could tell they were getting blown out the water because my guy went 9 for 9 on catches. He was getting lined up outside, even like just running empty. Kind of tough for the Jets all around. But Brees Hall went crazy that week just for him in the squad, even though they couldn't pull it off.
I'm gonna go with Najee Harris. Guy went off 27 carries, 122 yards, 2 touchdowns. But the thing that was impressive, both touchdowns were like angry runs, bro. Like this guy was like I would
Looking
not
like
be
Pacheco or
denied.
what? Oh,
Dude,
you
did
mean
you
just
see?
like fighting?
Yeah, like
Oh,
breaking
okay, okay.
tackles, just like carrying grown men on his back into the end zone. I mean, the one where he's literally like at the 4 and just like and stretches and
Uh-huh.
scores. And it was like, whoa, dude, this guy is I feel like I haven't seen
We
it
haven't seen him
Najee
like
run
that
like
in
that
like a
since
year.
Bama.
Yeah.
And then he had one where he stiff armed a guy to the ground. Like maybe not Derrick
Is
Henry,
that the
Josh
one he was
Norman.
running left?
Yeah.
I
I
think
mean,
I saw that one.
but close, like good stuff. Najee went off. I think and literally like his runs helped keep the Steelers alive. Helped one, Tomlin
Mhm.
get his 17th consecutive winning season. Two,
Yeah.
keep the Steelers alive. I think and with this, I have a little bit of a take, and people can disagree with me here, but like I've heard a lot of people talking about why do the Steelers have Najee Harris? Just get rid of Najee Harris and play Jalen
Yeah.
Warren.
Yep. I've seen that. I've
It's a
said that
lot of
take
the
even.
same a lot of the same takes as last year with like Zeke and Tony Pollard.
Mhm. Okay, so you're saying he's like the bruiser a little bit.
So, but you've seen Tony Pollard hasn't been nearly as good this year
Not
as
at
the
all.
lead black with the
He can't
Cowboys.
run.
Now
He
Cowboys
literally
fans are
can't
like,
run between the
"Oh,
tackles.
he's just not. We need something." And like they, when for 2-3 years in a row, they were, "Oh, Tony Pollard's better than Zeke." And like, was he more
But he might
explosive?
have better
Yes.
production. Yeah.
He is better as a pass
The
catcher?
receiver?
Yes.
Yeah.
But Zeke was great in pass protection, and he was still like a bruising back that helped keep hits
Mhm.
off Tony Pollard's body. Did you
Yeah.
want to pay Zeke what you were paying him? Of course
Nope.
not. Not for the role he was playing at that point, but I still think Zeke was important for Tony Pollard's success, just like I think
Yeah.
Najee Harris is important for Jalen Warren's success. You
Okay.
want both of those guys. So Steelers fans who are caping for Jalen Warren to be like the guy without anybody else, I don't know if you want that. I think you want what you're seeing right now, where you're getting production from both guys. And is Najee always great, or has he always been great? No. But like this week shows you why, the value that he brings. So I think you want both those guys in the ball game.
Which ties it back to something I just thought of, which is kind of funny. It was like when I was playing running back for what's that dude's little brother? There was a dude who played football with us. His brother was the other running back that year. And I kid you not, bro, the lineman would tell me, like, yeah, bro, when you're playing running back, I don't really care if I miss my block, honestly. He's like, but when the other dude's in, I got to make sure I block everyone because I don't want him to get hurt.
They're like, Joey, you're a tank. You'll be fine. You can
Yeah,
take
they're
it.
like, you could take the hit, you'll get your couple yards, but the other dude, he's got to get finesse and make it outside, make some cuts.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. We got to get to your dog of the week. Who you got?
So this was interchangeable with Brees Hall. I didn't know where to put which, but I think this one made more sense here. I'm rolling Harrison Bucker. My dude went crazy from kicking the ball. He went let's see, he went 2 for 2 from kicks under 39, 3 for 3 from kicks under 49, 1 for 1 with 50 plus kick, and then he had an extra point. Literally scored all the points in this game besides a touchdown from Pacheco. Like, I don't know what says baller than that. I think they finished with 25 or something. I don't know where the maths, but yeah, my dude literally carried the team on his back, kicking the ball from different ranges in the game. It just made sense to take my man here as a dog. Yeah,
Good for him.
he got like 24 fantasy points or something crazy. He was your best guy last week.
That is crazy. I got the minor setback for a major comeback. We're going to talk about the Lions here in back-to-back segments, so we're going to get to all of it.
Okay.
The Lions, they lost a controversial game in Dallas. They did play extremely well. They look poised to be a dangerous playoff team this year. They're going to finish the season with the Vikings. They have a very small shot, like I said, at the 2 seed if they can win that game and then watch Philly and Dallas both lose on Sunday.
Okay.
Otherwise, they'll be the 3 seed. But I expect them to bounce back, beating the Vikings, putting the Vikings out of their playoff miseries. And the Vikings are a team. Funny that we've been talking about predictions. I said they would go 7-10. Early on, they were like 1-4, and it was like, oh, that's bad. And they aren't as good as I thought. Then they won like 5 in a row, and it was like, oh, they're 6-4. Like, dang, they might be better than I thought. Now they're going to finish the year on this roller coaster and finish at probably 7-10. And I'm like, yep, that's exactly what I thought they were. So
we are who they thought
they were that way. But the Lions, I expect them to bounce back, even though they don't really have too much to play for. I think Dan Campbell, he's not a rest the starters guy. They're going to play and they're going to try and win because winning is what matters to them.
Especially with him and not like the whole situation, the way it played out last week, like you got something to show for. Like, nah, it's not no fluky. Get it done, you know?
So the no cap hats off award, we're going to talk about that. We saw 3 2-point conversions in the Dallas-Detroit game to decide it, okay? So we're going to take you through the whole scenario, explain it all. And for the people who don't know what we're talking about, here you go. Strap in, all right? So Dallas is down 21-14 at the end of the game. They, go and they score. They go down 2-minute drive, like 20-something seconds left. They score a touchdown to make it 21-20. And Dan Campbell's the type of guy that's saying, hey, we're on the road. We're playing at Dallas. Great at home. We don't want to go to overtime with these guys. We're going to go for 2.
Yeah.
We're going to go get the win right now. We're going for the jugular. They come in on their first 2-point conversion. They bring in a bunch of extra offensive linemen. Okay. They line up in a formation in which 2 of those O linemen are eligible. One of them being Taylor Decker, their left tackle. And, the play they run, he runs to the back corner of the end zone after faking a block and catches what looks to be the game-winning 2-point conversion. But wait, there is a flag. Oh, 68 didn't report as eligible. Okay, everyone watched the replay of this. It looked like he and another offensive lineman went and talked to the line judge, the white hat. Meanwhile, number 70 is running in off the sideline to be the extra lineman. The white hat seems to acknowledge blah, 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 blah. Okay, there's all kinds of controversy as to whether or not Taylor Decker reported. They said number 70, who had come into the game, was the one that reported. There was all the talk about Dan Campbell saying, well, we told the referees exactly what this play was pregame, which is pretty standard practice. If you have a weird play, you tell the referees about it so that they can call it right. You give them the heads up so they're not just seeing it, not knowing what's happening. Kind of give them that heads up. And that way they know. I mean, referees will literally come up, even in high school, come up and ask your head coach before the game, hey, you guys have any weird stuff that you do? Oh, we do gate on 2-point convert, on extra points. Like, okay, that makes sense. Or, hey, we have this certain play that we're going to run at some point today where we have 3 linemen here and 2 here, whatever it is. Weird formation, weird play, whatever it might be. Just so that they don't, throw a flag. Or they can even tell you, like, hey, that's not a legal play. Most of the time, obviously, if you're a good coach, you know what's legal or not. Anyway.
Yeah.
In the NFL, the way it works, you have to be wearing an eligible number to catch a pass. Those are numbers 1 through 49 and numbers 80 through 99 are your eligible numbers, right?
Okay, yeah.
Now, if you are not wearing, so that means if you're wearing a number between 50 and 79, if you want to be eligible in a formation, you have to report as eligible. And this is the universal sign, like brushing down your chest. So you have to show and tell. That's what the NFL put out, in their guidelines after this week, all the controversy. They said the Lions didn't. A lot of people say they did. I don't know. I mean, I honestly think that the Lions tried to, and I kind of just think the referee got it wrong,
Yeah.
but didn't want to say but as a referee, I don't know that it does him any good to admit after the game, like, yeah, I messed it up.
Yeah,
I
I
think
messed
he
it
did
up.
report,
Yeah.
but I said
no doubt.
70. It was my fault. What would Lions fans have been like, cool, if that had been said? No. They would have been more pissed. They'd have been more
Yeah.
mad
Yeah.
than
Then it's like,
like
see,
what they
there's proof. Now we actually got snubbed.
Yeah,
you know?
they're going to say, look, the NFL conspired against us. Like, no, I think the guy just got it wrong. And probably once, you know how like when you're wrong, but then everyone attacks you for being wrong. You know how you're like more likely to be like, no, I did this right. And you just kind of stick to your guns. I think most people get defensive that way. I think that's what happened. I kind of think he got it wrong. Didn't really, and just like an honest mistake, saw 70 running in and assumed 70 was the one reporting instead of 68. And just said 70 and 68 was the one who reported. And then at the end of the day, I mean, Lions fans,
we'll never
you feel
know
like
what
you got
happened in that
gypped,
conversation. True.
and you probably did. That's all. Anyway, the best part about the story is it keeps going.
Yeah.
So
I was
they
gonna
don't get the 2-point conversion. It's a 5-yard penalty. I think conventional wisdom says, all right, shoot, we didn't
Kick
get
the
it.
field goal.
Kick the extra point and let's go to OT.
Yes.
Dan Campbell's like, screw that, bro. We're going for 2 from the 7-yard line.
Yeah. That's okay.
And Jared Goff hard counts him, gets him to jump. So he knows he's got a free play. He gets waxed and throws a pick. But got him to jump. Free play.
Halfway to the goal.
Hey, we're back to the 2-yard line. Let's strap it up and let's go. So now, they're back inside around the 2-yard line, or
3-ish.
And they go for 2 again, and Goff just leaves it behind a receiver running an out route towards the pylon, where if you put it in front of him, guy probably catches it. It's probably close, but I think he dives and gets in. He just kind of left it behind him a little bit on the out route, and guy couldn't quite make the catch, and game over. Lions lose. So that was definitely a no cap, hats off scenario where it took like 20 minutes of 15 minutes of real time to decide the game. 3 2-point conversions in a row. So weirdest thing I saw.
Would you kick the field goal after that penalty, or would you have just stuck with your guns? Like, nah, we're winning.
I think I would have kicked. I think I would have kicked at that point and trusted the kicker to make a 38-yard extra point at that point, and just said, hey, that's probably a higher percentage shot for us than trying to go for 2 from the 7. Now, I respect the heck out of Dan Campbell for saying no.
Yeah.
I respect him.
Win it or not.
I think that takes big balls.
Weird.
Because everyone's going to second guess you. I love that he trusts his team. And that's his MO all year. And that's why that team is successful. That's why no one else could coach the team the way he does it. And that's why he's the perfect guy for Detroit. So, I'm not even criticizing him. I just think I know what I would have done. And just because I would have done something different doesn't mean he's wrong. I mean, there's a reason that team is. Well, there's a reason that team is 11-5. There's a reason they've won the division for the first time, and dude, since before I was born. That's how long it's been. It wasn't even
the division they're in now. It was the Central when the last time
the NFC Central. I mean, so all the credit in the world. Hats off to Dan Campbell. I'm not criticizing the guy. I refuse to.
Not even that though. Like the way, I mean, last year they went 9-8, just missed the playoffs, I believe, and then this year 11-5 at the moment. He's done a lot. They've
been on a steady growth. Year in and year out.
I just say for me, I think the extra point would have been better, but I mean, at the end of the day, if you think that game wasn't playing out the way you wanted to, you just gotta put you out your misery. Then you either find out you win or you get that L like they did, which is unfortunate. But it was a crazy game to watch for sure. I'll tell you that. Let's see. Leading after that, we got our Strahan Munoz Big Fellow Award. And this week for me, I'm going Nate Davis. Man, did I write down what team he was on? I did not. I think he's on the Texans. I don't know. I think. Let me do a quick search. That's a bad play by me. I have his number 64. Not that means anything without me knowing what team he's on. But
we can cut this. I can do my part while you're looking it up.
Oh, he's on the Titans. Was he really? No. He's on the Bears. He's on the Bears. My bad. He was on the Titans. Now he's on the Bears. I'm all over the place. No, he's on the Bears. That makes sense. They won 27-10 or something. I don't know.
Mhm.
Nah, Nate Davis though, he plays right guard for the Bears. The things I liked from him, he has a good quick set on pass pro. So like he's stronger than most people. So he was stopping bull rushes like crazy. But if he's ever like in trouble, he'll get his arms like back underneath the pads, get a nice little punch in, get some more separation to hold him out. Let's see. Oh, on pass pro, he's always looking for work. If there's no one ever coming towards him, he's getting in there with that tackle, just pushing that dude out the way. Let's see. He did let up 3 tackles on runs, which was unfortunate. One of them wasn't his fault. It was Justin Fields like passing him on a pass pro. He just ran past him. The dude dove on his legs. And he's good at combo blocking on runs. He wasn't necessarily the best when they were running like a counter. They would cross his face like nothing. But if he ever had a combo block to the backer, he was doing those nice and well. So yeah, Nate Davis from the Bears. Ultimately, that's my man.
Love it. I'm going with Aiden Hutchinson. Straight up dog up front. He's the first player in NFL history to record at least 18 sacks, 4 interceptions, 4 fumble recoveries in his first
That's
2
crazy.
seasons. Against Dallas, he had 3 sacks, 4 TFLs, 5 total tackles, 5 QB hits. He dominated the line of scrimmage all night despite the loss. And it's fitting, this week with the Michigan winning the Rose Bowl that he would get this award.
Mm-hmm.
He's a dog, bro. He's a dog. And everyone who questioned him as the number 1 pick, I don't think they're questioning it now. He's really embodied what Detroit wants to be.
Yeah,
And I think he's doing a really good job for him.
keeping him in Michigan too. My man's been there
Yep.
all time. See, next up we got our Who's Cooking Award, a quarterback that could either be whipping up, Michelin star food, a little Salt Bay on top, or someone that's just, they're in the kitchen, they got all the ingredients out, they don't really know where they go, and you get a pizza that's not even looking like pizza. Dough's looking a little funky, cheese ain't even mozzarella for whatever reason, like who knows.
Uh,
But this week, I think we're both picking someone who's cooking, I believe. I went with
yeah.
Lamar Jackson. You kind of talked about it at the top. My dude went 18 for 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns, literally 3 incompletions. One of them I remember was at least a drop from Likely, and 6 rushes, 35 yards. And my dude literally just went crazy, picking apart the Dolphins, and in a game where it's a potential playoff contender. Like you can't get much better than that. My dude had some pretty balls. Zay Flowers had a nice catch too, where he had that cutback and just got
Isaiah
that
Likely
tutty.
too. Isaiah Likely had some nice
Oh, that
catches
one
too.
hander. Yeah,
Hey,
that one
I
was
just
nice
love
too.
that the fact that everyone was dunking on that lady, talking about, is it quarterbacky enough for you now? That was my favorite part. Shout out Lamar, man. I've got
Did you
Tyrod
see?
Taylor.
Did you see the
Go ahead.
video or the picture of him where he's got like a weave on and it's like comparing him to like Snoop Dogg? Did you see that on Twitter?
Uh-uh.
I'll have to find one and send it to you. That was pretty
Okay.
funny
All
too.
right. I need it. I've got, and I'm sorry, not Tyrod. It's Tyrod. Tyrod Taylor.
There
He
you
corrected that on a podcast like a year ago. Tyrod
go.
Taylor had a great game. First start since week 13, threw for 319 yards, touchdown, interception. He added 6 carries for 40 yards on the ground. Now, Giants fans will tell you, he did miss the 2-point conversion throw that would have
Uh-huh.
put them up to win the game. But he kind of made up for it later by getting the Giants in the field goal range at the end to win it. So they had a game-winning kick at the end, and
Yeah.
they did miss it. So unfortunately for him, the Giants missed, but he certainly played well enough to win, in my estimation.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
I thought he was cooking. I always liked Tyrod Taylor. Like his entire career, it's always felt like he could be a starting quarterback, and he's kind of gotten like weird chances that never sort of ended up right. I mean, like he guided the Bills to their first playoff berth. No one remembers that, but like he actually got the
Mhm.
Bills to the playoffs before Josh
Well, even
Allen
when he
got
was on
there.
the Chargers, he was doing good. It's just he had
Well,
the
with
sad
the
injury,
Chargers, he didn't even get to start that first game though because they punctured his lung, and then it was
Yeah.
Justin Herbert's. never
Yeah.
he never really got the shot to be the guy. And every time he's come in as a backup quarterback, it feels like he's played well. Like
Well, I feel like
you
when he's
can't tell
been with the
me,
Giants, they got nice energy. They look like they got that spark they need, and then they just flip the
yeah,
script, and it all looks good.
Honestly, you can't tell me if you didn't put him in as the starter on the Falcons instead of the guys they've been going with that the Falcons wouldn't have won
Oh,
that division.
it is
You know
very
what I
possible,
mean?
especially the things they could do with that backfield, bro. It's gonna be crazy.
Yeah,
That's like
that's what I'm
I've
saying.
seen a lot of Justin Fields talk to there, which would
Yeah,
be nice. Which would be
Justin
nice.
Fields, according to Moore, DJ Moore is him, and he does not want to lose him as his starting quarterback.
Ooh,
So he may
my
be a
man
Bear.
Tim.
I don't know. We'll see. Um,
Quick preview before we skip to this Boo Boo Evans. Do you think that the Giants could pull off this dub versus the Eagles this week?
no.
No.
I mean,
Alright.
yes, they could. I don't think they will. I think
You don't
the
okay.
Eagles need a win. The Eagles need to
Yeah.
win.
Then end right on the season. I feel you.
Yeah.
All right. So the last award we're giving now. Oh no, we got one more after this one. My bad. But the Boo Boo Evans Award, the last award of a player, I should say. We're going with Tyler Lockett this week. My dude went 1 for 5 on his catches for 10 yards. Like that's tough. The Seahawks, they were playing
Steelers.
the Steelers, yeah. In a game they, couldn't pull out. They lost by 7, and you need your guys to produce. I know they went to DK a lot in that game, but if you're getting your 5 targets and you only catch one of them for 10, like as one like the second receiver on that team, maybe JSN's pass him, I don't know, but not what you want to see from a dude who's always got nice hands. Very old reliable, So not what you want to see out of your receiver this week for 1 for 5. So Tyler Lockett gets the Boo Boo Evans.
I'd just like to take everyone behind the curtain really quick. On our document, it says Euler Lockett, and I was like,
Yeah,
"Who the
yeah,
heck is
yeah.
Euler Lockett?"
No, I was typing
that's
I was typing up
that's his
everything all
boo.
bad
That's his
yesterday.
boo boo name. When he's not playing like Tyler Lockett, he's Euler Lockett. uh, all right, so we got the last one, the Standing on Business Award. Now, there were not a lot of teams standing on business this week. The Rams, the Niners, the Eagles, all these teams failed to cover. Okay,
Uh-huh.
on bigger spreads. The team that did cover in a weird way, though, it didn't feel like it, but they did technically. The Chiefs, they bounced back from a tough loss
Yeah.
at home. They had a 7.5-point spread to cover against the Bengals, and they did so by winning 25-17. So they literally won by a half point over the spread. They only
Yeah.
won by 8. But technically, they were the team that covered the largest spread of the week. So they were the ones standing on business. They didn't do it Christmas Day, but they found a way to stand on business in Week 17. And we'll see what they look like in the playoffs. That's what matters now.
All right, so that's going to lead us to our turnover on downs, where we got four downs that we consider, first down, you got a trend you got going for us. Second down, I give you a bet. Third down, you bring it back with a breakdown of a third down play you've seen, and then we close out with my bad beat of last week. So let's see what you got cooking up this week for us, broski.
Yeah. First down, we're going to look at a trend, and I'm talking split safety coverages today. As well as I
Ooh,
said,
some
Tyrod
defense.
Taylor played. We are going to actually look at him throwing a pick. So, all right. So I'll explain this. If you're watching on the YouTube, I highly recommend at least watching this part on the YouTube. If you're listening on podcasts, on one
Facts.
of the podcast apps, always recommend looking at our this segment specifically at the end, turnover on downs. Make it easy, put it at the end so you can go find it. But if you're looking and you're watching with us, we got the Rams versus the Giants on the screen. All right. The Rams are showing pressure right now. They got a 5-man front, right? They're going to overload one side with 3 players, and then 2 players to the backside. The
Left
Giants
side,
are
strong
in
side,
a
bro.
say that again.
I said left side, strong side.
Yeah, for sure. The Giants are in a 2-by-1 set with Darren Waller lined up as a tight end off the hip of the tackle. It's really more like 3-by-1 with him, just because he's so much more like a receiver than he is a true tight end.
Yeah.
The back's away. The Rams are going to play what we call a split safety coverage. They're essentially playing 2-man to the backside, to the single receiver side. It looks like true man free when Tyrod Taylor's looking at this, because this safety looks like he's going to go to the middle of the field. That's Jordan Fuller for the Rams, but he's actually going to play the half on that side. And then on the other
Okay.
side, they're going to play a version of cover
I
3.
see.
You've got your thirds player, your flat defender who's going to actually carry number 2 vertical. you've got a hook player to the front side, and then you've got a backside hook player who's really more like a robber because they're playing two-man back there. He's really back there to see the back, right? You'll see the back, though. He stays in protection. And the Rams actually mess up the coverage a little bit to the front side because they released Darren Waller late to the flat, and number 37, Quentin Lake, does not come off to it. But it doesn't matter because Tyrod Taylor thinks he's got one-on-one with Ahkello Witherspoon and his guy. I believe it's not Jalen Hyatt. It's Sterling Shepard, I think, to the field side.
I don't know.
So we'll let it play a little bit. And you can see our guy, we'll let it play from both angles here. Mark Sanchez kind of draws it up, the color commentator of the game, but Jordan Fuller gets over, kind of fools him, gets the interception, because they were able to fool Tyrod Taylor with the coverage, with the split safety look. That's part of why you run split safety coverages. So you'll see Mark Sanchez is explaining the quarterback thinks he's got to go to the middle of the field, but he's actually going to play that deep side half, right? And he does a really disciplined job of really just backpedaling straight down. So he's kind of cheating it. Again, Tyrod Taylor sort of looks this way to look him off, but he doesn't go for the bait because he knows he's a half-field player. He knows there's guys on this side of the field to play that side, right? Here's the late release to the flat. That would have been the throw Tyrod Taylor would have wanted to make because, in theory, Quentin Lake should come off of that.
Right there.
And trust John Johnson to keep carrying this vertical, staying underneath this vertical. But again, look at the ball isn't released. Jordan Fuller is already breaking because he knows he's a half-field player. Now, this is a good throw if it's true one-on-one. He's got him beat by a half step, but he never sees that safety. Jordan Fuller makes a great break, adjusts to the ball in the air, and then Mark Sanchez is like, hey, you should have thrown the thirds route over there with the cover 3 corner, single coverage. But Fuller breaks to it, makes the interception. It's a great defensive design there and fools Tyrod Taylor into throwing his only interception of the day. Probably about the only bad play Tyrod actually had. So good play by the Rams.
All right, the second down on the turnover on downs, we got me giving you the bet. This week, the 4 I'm looking at is Houston -1.5 versus the Colts. I got the Patriots -2.5 versus the Jets. I got Philly Giants over 41.5. And then I got Bears +3 versus the Packers. Now, that last one, I think the Bears could actually win that one. But the Packers are playing for some playoff hope, so it could go either way. A little tough. So I think that one's going to be a close game. Philly Giants, I went with the over just because I think Tyrod Taylor's dynamic and can get more points than everyone probably expects. Patriots Jets, I think the Patriots are probably just a better ball club. The Jets can't figure out their quarterback situation since they lost Zach Wilson. And Patriots, I think, just have a better defense than their offensive quarterback could do for the Jets. So I think they do some things there. But ultimately, I'm picking the Houston -1.5 versus the Colts. That kind of ties back to me talking about Gardner Minshew. I think CJ Stroud and the boys in Houston have been playing a little better. And now that he's back after last week, even, I think they got some things they want to do, especially when into the playoffs. So I'm rolling with Houston -1.5.
I like it. I actually do like that. Doubting the Colts again. You said it was one of your worst takes. You're doubting them again, but I still
know
like
it. if they pull it off on Saturday, the Colts are at home, which ultimately probably is another factor that would probably lean that way. But I think Houston's just a better ball club all around. So who knows? We'll see. We'll come back on Sunday and we'll say, hey, you were right, or man, you shouldn't have doubted your original take. You've been down them all year, and they still proved that you made the poor decision.
Yeah. So for the third down breakdown, we're going to break down a Ravens 3rd and goal play, right? This is huge because it scored a touchdown. It really put the Dolphins away. The Dolphins needed to force a field goal here. It's later in the game, 10 minutes to go. Baltimore's up 35-19. The touchdown pretty much puts it out of reach. The field goal maybe keeps the Dolphins still in it. So this is great play design by Todd Monken. This is what I was talking about when I said it was the best thing they could have done to get him there. Right, they're going to be in a tight 2-by-2 set with a detached tight end here, right? And that's actually their fullback, Pat Ricard. playing tight end
Yeah.
there. Okay.
Oh, on the
You're
right
going to
side. Okay.
motion the slot across. I believe that's Rashad Bateman. Actually, it might be Zay Flowers there. Zay Flowers is going to come
The
across.
top.
He's going to run the little flat route off the motion. You're going to see
Mhm.
Odell Beckham run the corner route. So you're getting a little smash combo to the front side. Backside, Rashad Bateman's going to run the under, but he's going to run it right in front of the backers who are all sitting at the goal line just to attract
Yeah.
their eyes. Their goal is to get all this movement going this way to the boundary side. Then they're just going to have Pat Ricard block 1001, 1002, and leak,
Yeah.
just tight end leak to the backside. Now you'll watch the Dolphins are in a low red cover 3 concept. So you've got hook, flat, third, right? His job, Jalen Ramsey, is to play the fade ball to the back corner of the end zone. Same thing for him. You've got a middle of the field safety who in this case is just a robber. And then you've got 4 underneath players who are supposed to take anything sitting right on the goal line and to the flat, right?
Uh-huh.
So you'll see what happens though when you run this concept, all of their eyes get taken to the boundary side, right? You can see everyone's
Yeah.
eyes are going
They're
here.
already
Look
all
at
looking left.
Rashad Bateman isn't even running around. He's just trying to run in front of these guys, their eyes. You
Yeah.
can see the flat defender and Jalen Ramsey are being taken across. Now,
Yeah.
most times, low red cover 3 concept, I'm going to say that you're teaching Jalen Ramsey to stay on top of this, and the flat defender needs to just let him pass and stay disciplined to the backside for the tight end leak. That defender, you'll see, he goes with it too long. Now look at Pat Ricard.
Just a little touch pass.
Wide open.
Yeah.
Wide open. And you're getting the fullback some love in the end zone, right? Once again, you see it from the top view. It's great stuff. I mean, Pat Ricard really sells it with the block. 1001, 1002, 1003. Oh, now I'm going to leak. And then the O-line is able to hold for that 3 seconds to give Lamar the
Yeah.
time to find him, to let it leak out and find him. That's just great play design by Todd Monken. You have to get creative in the red zone because the field is condensed. Defensively, it's easier to play defense in that area just because you don't have to guard the deep ball. There is no deep ball, right?
Yeah.
But when teams get creative, they scheme things. They give you action in front of your face that distracts you from your job. It's really good stuff from Todd Monken. So, and that's part of why the Ravens are the 1 seed and they have one of the better offenses, more efficient offenses in the NFL this year.
I think we've seen that kind of in the Bama game too. We had the dude point like, "Yo, that's your guy," and then they threw it right there, and that was like a touchdown right there.
It's very similar concept to what Michigan ran on 4th and 2. They just ran it with the back. I mean, anytime you can get all the action coming one way and then leak someone behind it, it's always good stuff.
You like how I called out the Bama game? I didn't even realize it was the Michigan game. You know what I mean? Let's see. 4th down, my bad beat from last week. So I had a tough time actually finding one this week. It was the only one I could have thought of on my own was Justin Jefferson yards. I had him over like 78.5, and he only got like 55 or something. But one I found was the Patriots game, actually. Kind of unfortunate. I guess the spread was either 3 or 3.5, depending when you got it. And Mac Jones took a safety late in that game versus the Raiders, where they were down 2. Got a safety with a minute 47 on the clock. Now they're down 4, and that either hit in your favor or messed you up and you lost because you thought there was going to be a closer game than expected. So I saw that one out there that I kind of felt bad for people because especially late in the game, getting a deep safety like that, that's tough. You can't deal with those, you know?
Yeah, that is a bad beat. A lot of people were upset that Michigan Alabama went to overtime. The over-under on point totals there. But let's get to the banger of the week. Jody, what do you got for us? First one of 2024.
Ooh, so this one I'm rolling with. Nicki Minaj dropped an album in the middle of December. I don't really remember when, but I had listened to it like the day it dropped at the gym, and then hadn't really come back to it since just because I hadn't done leg day. So I kind of just listened to it at once. And then so I brought it back full circle like a couple days ago. And the one I'm going to give you from her album is Barbie Dangerous. She has a lot of songs that are like sampled from other songs in the past, like on this album especially. And this one's Notorious Thugs. if you know that like melody. That one's like she kind of even like raps the same way to the way they do it on that song. And so Barbie Dangerous is only like 2 minutes, I think, from Nicki Minaj's album. I couldn't tell you the name of it. It's something weird, I think. But yeah, that's the first banger of the year right there, Nicki Minaj.
All right. Nicki Minaj, go listen.
Yeah.
And to close us out with a banger, we got our guy Ray Ray. Take us home. First one of 2024.